Would you rather be black and live to be 100 or white and live to be 50?
We grow up hearing about John Henry like he's a superhero. The steel-driving man who took on a steam-powered drill with nothing but 2 hammers and his own heartbeat. In the song, he wins. He proves the human spirit is faster than the machine. But the song always ends the same way. John Henry dies on the tracks, hammer in hand, because his heart simply gave out. For a long time, we treated this as a tragedy of labor. But in the 1970s, a researcher named Sherman James realized it was actually a medical case study. Sherman James was studying why black men in the South had such disproportionately high rates of hypertension. He met a man named John Henry Martin, a real person who had worked his way from sharecropping to owning 75 acres of land. He was a success story. But by his 50s, his body was failing. James realized that when you are forced to work twice as hard to get half as far against a system designed to stop you, you aren't just working. You are engaged in high-effort coping. This became the John Henryism hypothesis. John Henryism isn't just about being a workaholic. It's a specific psychological profile. It's the belief that you can overcome any obstacle through sheer willpower. In a vacuum, that's an asset. But when applied to systemic racism, where the obstacles are invisible, shifting, and constant, that willpower becomes a toxin. Your brain tells you to push through, but your cardiovascular system is paying the invoice. You're winning the race, but you're burning the engine out to do it. This is the trap of the Black excellence narrative. It demands a level of effort that the human body wasn't built to sustain indefinitely.
So when I came upon the scientific literature about cardiovascular reactivity to stressors and the sustained elevation of heart rate and blood pressure, when people believe that they can solve a problem if they work hard at it, stay focused, that gave me a scientific underpinning for the John Henryism hypothesis. Having a very strong predisposition to engage in high-effort coping to overcome difficult life problems, that's what sets this process of high blood pressure or hypertension in place. That's what gets it going fairly early in life for African Americans. And because it is a chronic set of circumstances and there's so much uncertainty involved, it's so stressful, it's endemic, that you see the emergence of elevated blood pressure among Black Americans, particularly working class Black Americans, 10 to 15 years before you see the problem emerge among whites because of the circumstances into which they are born.
If John Henryism is the behavior, weathering is the consequence. This term, coined by Dr. Arline Geronimus, suggests that the health of Black Americans is literally eroded by the weather of their environment. Think of it like this. If you live in a house on a cliff, a single storm won't knock it down. But 40 years of salt spray, wind, and rain, eventually the foundation crumbles. In humans, that salt spray is the constant release of stress hormones like cortisol. This is what scientists call allostatic load. When you perceive a threat, say a police siren or a hostile boss, your body enters fight or flight. Cortisol floods the system to help you survive. For most people, that level drops back to baseline. But for Black people navigating a society that often views them as a threat, the off switch is stuck. Your body stays in a state of high alert. This constant on state leads to allostatic overload. It's why Black women regardless of their income or education, face higher rates of maternal mortality. Their bodies have been weathered by the time they reach childbearing age, making them biologically older than their chronological age.
Dr. Kimberly Dawn Wisdom has spent much of her career putting Geronimus' theories into practice, trying to overcome the impacts of weathering. Dr. Wisdom is the Senior Vice President of Community Health and Equity at Henry Ford Health in Detroit. She was Michigan's first Surgeon General.
The body keeps score.
Day-to-day stress actually changes the body down to the cellular level, leading to premature aging.
So take diabetes, take hypertension, take cardiovascular disease, infant mortality, maternal mortality. Just multiply the poor outcome by 2 or by 3, and that's what you see in populations of color. So it's like the Caucasian population can catch a cold, but populations of color actually develop pneumonia.
So, for example, the latest studies show infant mortality rates for Black Americans that are more than double those of white Americans.
In 2024 and 2025, the research went even deeper, down to the cellular level. Scientists began looking at DNA, methylation, and telomeres. Telomeres are the protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes. And think of them like the plastic tips on shoelaces. Every time a cell divides, the telomere gets shorter. Once they're gone, the cell dies. Stress speeds up this process. Studies have shown that Black women in their 40s often have telomeres the length of white women in their 50s. Systemic racism is literally stealing a decade of life by fraying our DNA. So what does this look like in 2026? It looks like the black tax at the office, where you're the unofficial DEI consultant while doing your actual job. It looks like the exhaustion of digital trauma, where you scroll past a video of someone who looks like you being hurt before you've even had your coffee. This isn't burnout that a weekend getaway can fix. This is a deep cellular fatigue born from the realization that even when you do everything right, the degree, the job, the house, the weather doesn't stop. The system still asks you to be John Henry. But there's a movement growing. It's called rest as resistance. It's the radical idea that for a people whose ancestors were valued only for their labor, the act of not producing is a political statement. It's the realization that self-care isn't just a spa day. It's a survival strategy to lower their allostatic load. It's about choosing to put the hammer down before the heart gives out. We have to stop romanticizing the grind when the grind is literally killing us. John Henry won the race against the machine, but he didn't live to see the sun set. Maybe the real victory for us isn't beating the machine at all. Maybe the victory is walking away from the tracks, keeping our hearts intact and living to tell a different story. One where we aren't defined by how much we can endure, but by how much we can flourish. Take a breath, take a rest. You've earned it. Thanks for watching.